All right, with that, the guy who I'm going to introduce next has obviously never loaded a market hog, or you wouldn't fondly carry a pig around with you all of the time. You can do it. Robert David Steele.
Well, Trent, I haven't collected from a boar either. Trent's a master. This tour is the way it is because God gave me Trent Luce. And he is the man who's picked all of these places. He is the man who's connected with all of you. He is the man whose hand I have held as I have found Jesus in the heartland. The heartland is America. And as Thomas Jefferson said, the cities have become cesspools of evil. We've got a lot of work ahead of us, but I am heartened when President Trump said the best is yet to come. I believe he was right. And today is the beginning of the best is yet to come. Now, I'm going to do two presentations today. Today, I'm going to do kind of a big overview in under 10 minutes. And this afternoon, I'll do something maybe a little bit longer with slides, 6 slides. And the two together will be my presentation today. I think we all know now about my past as a spy. I created the Marine Corps Intelligence Agency. I'm a top nonfiction reviewer. I know a lot of stuff. The three big things that we're dealing with, thank you.
Here's the good news. I'm not pulling you off. I'm getting you louder.
All right. Can you hear me now? Howard Dean, eat your heart out. All right. I apologize for those of you. Where shall I start? At the beginning. All right. Now, I'll start with the best is yet to come. This is the beginning of the best is yet to come. Now, we all know we've got some big problems, and it's been my blessing to have been a spy, to have created our nation's newest national intelligence agency, the Marine Corps Intelligence Activity, back in 1888, my former life. I'm sure I'm reincarnated. The crickets are glad I'm gone. And then I became a top nonfiction reviewer, and you can find all of my reviews. In fact, bigbatyusa.org, where you can also donate. We need gas money. And I will be back at the bucket from 12 to 2 and then from 4 to 6, doing pictures which don't cost you a penny. With the idea, in fact, there are two. There's a lot of good in Utah. There's also some evil, but there's a lot of good in Utah. And Brigham Young University, and CIA loves Brigham Young University because it delivers people who speak a foreign language and have been overseas. They do have a drinking problem. A more perfect union. Miracles, in God we trust. I wasn't naive when I started this tour. It's a God thing. I was unemployed on Social Security in my wife's basement. I gave her the house 10 years ago. I cleansed myself of all property, took no paycheck, have no pension. Then I had dinner with Juan Savin in the Trump Hotel. Not his real name. Kind of a 4-star equivalent undercover presidential agent. Juan and I have had a lot of fun together. And he said to me over dinner on the 7th of March, Robert, wouldn't it be cool if you put together a convoy and we're at Mount Rushmore on the 4th of July? Yes, Juan, that would be really cool. He wrecked my life. I've been doing 16-hour days, 7 days a week, and when I finish speaking here, I have to go back to the coach and deal with the minutia. But no disrespect is intended, and I will not do pictures while other speakers are speaking. So we'll finish this program, and then I'll be back there from 12 to 2 and then from 4 to 6. But what this is really all about, also to do this tour by Sheriff Richard Mack. And by the way, I urge all of you to join the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. Sheriff Mack will be manning a table back by his coach back there for the rest of the day. And you should certainly do that. And more importantly, you should all vet your sheriff. He provides something for you to vet your sheriff. And you should be going to your sheriffs and saying, and I think I'm done. You should be going to your sheriffs and saying, you absolutely need to be a constitutional sheriff. So faith, family, and freedom, for me, is what all of you have to demand And you have to start at the local level. I will just end by saying, in case some of you aren't back tonight, we're starting a new organization, 99 versus 1. That organization will offer 200 million citizens a chance to organize. We will not monetize those emails. We will not exploit those emails. What we will do is we will point you like a gun at every school board, county commission, state legislative hearing, federal hearing. And I believe that by 2024, we will be completely back on track, and you should not be giving any donations to any politicians who do not agree to sponsor #Unrig Election Reform Act, which is the heart of how you take back the power. I'm going to go watch my hog films now. Bye-bye.
Robert David Steele.
Well, folks, we're at a really cool ranch, and you can see the 5 wrapped coaches that are on their way to Mount Rushmore. You can see the crowd beginning to build up, and this is 2 hours before we start. This is just absolutely beautiful. I feel blessed to be surrounded by angels and to have so many good people coming together, including a special shout out to Simon Parks and his consciousness group, which has turned into, along with Savin's 107 people, 2 of the groups that continue to show up at every single stop. God bless all of you. God bless America. The best is yet to come.
And just say that Sidney Powell, I'm a huge fan of Sidney Powell, Mike Flynn's lawyer. I like to say that the only difference between Sidney Powell as a pit bull is that one wears pearls. Okay? She is a monster. And I would like to see her be a Supreme Court justice, because there's no one else in America that is crooked judges and crooked prosecutors.
Robert David Steele crew, Patriot Street Fighter and Company, are now with Sasha Stone. Here is a bit of history. Description for links of interest. OPPT, ITNJ, Heather Tucci.
5 of us have all been very dedicated to educating.
David Nino Rodriguez.
Think of the interview last night with 107. I think it was a good interview. We covered a lot of things. I think it was a lot of good information. But unfortunately, the trolls ran amok. I had moderators in there, and still the trolls ran amok.
That's because...
So good morning, folks, and welcome to Nino's Circus.
107 is...
It's a circus. It's now a circus. Which tells me, and the new heavyweight champion of podcasting is coming, folks, because you're dying for information. You want information. That's what you want. You want the truth. You're sick of these fucking mouthpieces telling you lies. You're done. You're done with it. I don't blame you. So I'm here to provide this for you the best I can. The best I can at this. But first, this is a new one, folks. Well, it's not a new one. This is a Health with Nino. If you're familiar with collagen and its role in aging, you probably know that collagen product decreases 10% in your bodies every decade. I say especially white people. What most don't know, however, is that typical collagen supplements found on store shelves are often filled with harmful ingredients and chemicals that can make us look like we're aging way quicker. This is why I highly recommend Health with Nino. Users, including myself, experiencing more youthful appearance and decreased wrinkles, smoother skin within days of taking this amazing multi-collagen powder. It promotes effective anti-aging through the use of 5 types of high-quality collagen mixed into one. You need to get Health with Nino today for 51% off. Hit the link below, folks. I take collagen because I think it helps with my scars, my battle wounds. So we know what's up. We're not stupid. I took the video down because I didn't want to get my channel bombed, as you all know. I don't do that. I don't fucking risk anything. I'm trying to keep my platform. But listen, even if I do get taken down, you can go to ninoscorner.tv or I'll show up somewhere else. Nothing can stop me. I'm like, what? I'll find a way. I'll find a way to get you guys information. Don't worry about that.
One old scamming. And it was getting old. I am a faithful watcher of you, and on Instagram, I'm a patriot. I have great hope that Trump will be reinstated. I love Simon Parks and the gang. But as you stated before, you can't get answers from him. I've heard you say it. So just because we say one thing, that is how we feel. It doesn't mean we are trolls. We're just stating our feelings, and this is a free speech platform. At least that's what I thought. You're 100% right. Juan is a pain in the arse. You're spot on. We get 100% of what you're saying. You expressed what many of us have been saying to ourselves and on other platforms. Yet where you're coming from feels same. Be safe and pray it best you can. Agreed, he's great at skirting the questions. That's because he has no answers. Juan is verbose, for sure. There are some things he can answer and others he can't. It's not that he's pushing of question, it's he can't directly answer them. It's because he's a fraud and he don't have any answers. Either it will give something away to make the deep state confused. Yeah, that's a good excuse. I've been exposing cults for a long time, and Wano scamming is one of the biggest cults on the internet right now. Don't rely on others to do the research for you. Remember that these podcasts are just people's thoughts and opinions. He just keeps going on and on about things we already know and about himself. But when Nino tried to get a word in edgewise, one told him no and to let him finish. That's because he's a sociopath. We want to know what's happening and will happen, not what we already know. Not long, drawn-out stories. My opinion, stop playing, I say. Well, you're right, Debbie, singer. You hit that nail on the head. He talks about himself and stuff that he's been talking about for years. It's because he knows nothing else. He likes to hear himself talk. He thinks he's God. Because he's in my opinion, a narcissistic, sociopathic, pathological liar. I agree too. I can only listen to one dribble for so long. Why doesn't he show face? David does. Mike Lindell puts himself out there. I decided to read some of these posts. There was quite a few of them, so it's got quite lengthy. Under Alessandro's story that he wrote concerning Sasha Stone and Robert David Steele, and especially about Kevin Annette. I put up a couple of videos since I did that one video of Sasha, because I really didn't know this guy at all, and I like to be thorough. And I know some people got upset because I put those up and stuff, but I'm on a mission to uncover the truth. And just because I put something up, that doesn't always mean that I agree with it. I just want you to see for yourself. We each have to learn to discern between good and evil. I'm just a human being. I am looking for the truth just like you are. And I don't want you to take anything that I say as 100% factual, because I've never in my life, and people in here talk about this too, are so confused because there is so much going on out here. And so I'm just, when I come across something that I think might uncover a little bit more of that truth, then I want to share it. I don't want to just end it there and have people wondering what the heck is going on, including myself. I wasn't real comfortable with Kevin Annette. I guess it's Annette, not Annette. I wasn't real comfortable with the way he was talking about some things, because I've done a lot of exposés in the past concerning the sovereign citizen movement. And most of these grifters that I expose are part of this. I mean, Phil McConnell, Timothy Holmseth, there's, all this Jacera, Nacera. These are all, from what I've seen so far, nothing but scams and cons and frauds. We have a government. You know, in the United States, other countries have their governments. We have our laws. They're not perfect. We got a lot of dirty lawyers. We got a lot of dirty judges. And we got a lot of good judges and lawyers. But these people are being lied to and told, you know, to use these documents that are in no way legal. You know, maybe it would be better if it could be that way. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. You know, it'd be nice to... I heard many years ago that it really was illegal. You could not really force people to pay income taxes. And I have known people who actually did whatever hoops and stuff you have to jump through to get that done. But at the same time, if you do that, you can't get any kind of government benefits. You're basically not a United States citizen anymore. You're a sovereign citizen. And like I said, people have been given a lot of false hope, a lot of hopium going around out there. And I can't vouch for any of these people, except there's a lot of them, and there's a lot more research that I could do. But I don't want to beat, a dead horse to death again. But as new evidence comes out, I want to share that with you, whoever's interested. So, I may not be able to read all of these. My voice is already kind of given out, but this is 36 minutes long before I start reading it. So, Douglas James on August 1, 2021. Yes, Charlie Ward. They were talking about different people. Mel K and all of the rest are all in bed. It will get worse when you learn more. And then somebody said, Mel K, really? I haven't seen anything that makes me suspicious of her yet, anyways. Well, I have. I reacted on Sasha promoting forgiveness to the pedos, Satanists, so we shall not do the same revenge game, who we find bad. I don't forgive a child that in any circumstances. From there I realized Sasha is a fraudster. That part bothered me greatly as well. God can judge, yet if humans do great harm to others on earth, then the consequences have to be great as well. Life in prison or death. What was said to be about the Antichrist, a young man, very well versed, very good looking. When he speaks, all will follow, very powerful. There will not be a heaven on earth until Jesus returns. Nothing man can make can be pure. Sorry, Sasha, you're wrong. Dear Alessandro, thank you so much for your great work on getting this information out. Much appreciate your efforts. I have been suspect on these guys for a while. It's not easy telling people their favorite rock star guru is a fake, just especially when he's attractive. He's not. You may have heard of a guy called Brian Harvey from Britain, who was an ex-pop star back in the 90s with the band East 17. He stumbled into a massive hornet's nest early on, involving the manager Tom Watkins assaulting band members and much more, including the famous phone hacking scandal in which Rupert Murdoch and News of the World were under scrutiny. If you have the time and energy, here's a link to an interview he gave 2 years ago when he was pumped to go to court. But unfortunately, it came to nothing as they sent in the saboteurs, and he received numerous death threats, just the usual. Thanks again for your work, Rob. Rita Griffin. Thank you for your honesty and knowledge. You have opened my eyes to so much more than people really need to hear. I will pass on your story to as many people as I can. God bless you. And you've got to remember also that these were written back in 2020 and some in 2021. Also, Russell Brand. OMFG, no one is good. And Eckhart Tolle, wow, thank you for all your truth. Much appreciated. I don't know who that is. This is mind-blowing to me. I will for sure be looking into this ITNJ and Sasha Stone with critical eyes now. But please tell me how Eckhart Tolle is part of this. I was shocked to see his name mentioned. I for sure will be doing some research based on your information here. Thank you. I don't know who that is either. Teal Swan and Russell Brand, they talk about a subject, and you think, oh, interesting, and then they talk and talk. And in the end, you feel tired and confused without any clarity at all. They are masters of seduction and gaslighting. And that's so true. With Sasha, I always thought it was weird. He broadcast from a satanic dungeon-looking location, and David Steele flashed his satanic red ring in one of his earliest appearances. Also, the cover of one of his books is a Freemason cross. I thought the same thing. You know, you'll see this screenshot that has this title that really draws you in, or a picture, you know, on the front. And I get that you need to put as much information as you can so people can, because you're attracted to the picture and what it says. I have to be careful about the words I put in the title because you can get in trouble with it, or what music and all that. But you know, you start listening, and you sit there for an hour and listen to them going back and forth and laughing and talking and BSing, basically. And they never, one time, touch. And Phil McConnell used to be really, really bad about this, to draw you in and then not give you anything. And you never, nothing about the show has anything to do with the title or the picture that's put on there. That's just clickbait, basically. So I get where these people are talking about. They just talk and talk and talk, and to hear themselves talk. Like 107 is probably the worst I have ever seen. And he never really says anything. But he makes you think he's saying something. I never trusted the New Age BS gurus. I feel there's a darkness around Sasha. He seems possessed or overcloaked by dark entities, evil spirits that speak the words people want to hear. I wouldn't doubt that for an instant. But in fact, it is a facade to cover up the intention of deception. Thanks, Alessandro, for the information. Little by little, the truth is revealed. I'd been getting onto this on my own. I have to admit that Madej had me fooled until I found her association. Yeah, Carrie Madej, I think that's how it's pronounced. I posted under one of her posts on Twitter, and I thought it was a very nice post. I just told her that I thought she was a very sweet lady, and I was just a little bit troubled because, you know, she wore that gold cross around her neck, and she was always talking about Jesus and all this stuff, but then she would get into that New Age mumbo jumbo, and it was confusing. And so I said, you know, the fact that you bring all this New Age talk into it is troubling. Could you explain that? And I mean, within just not very long at all, I was blocked. I can't even see her stuff anymore. So that told me everything I needed to know about Carrie Madej. I have to admit, Madej had me fooled until I found her association with ADK and INTJ. And Sasha Stone, etc. Yeah, she was on with Sasha. I saw that one. While continuing research, this is how I came across your site. I feel like a sucker. This is one site I will trust. And Alessandro, thank you, Gordon. Don't feel bad. Millions are and have been fooled. Infiltration instead of invasion. Exactly. Everything's been infiltrated. And then I posted here. I did talk about, I questioned Carrie Madej about something on Twitter about how, well, I just got through explaining that to you. Thought she was a Christian with her gold cross and talking about Jesus while preaching New Age stuff. She promptly blocked me. So that's one way to tell who someone is. I mean, I've blocked a few people myself, but it was always because, it was extremely foul language, or they started calling me hateful names and stuff like that. I'll talk to anybody as long as they're civil. My feelings don't get easily hurt. I've had death threats and everything else, so that stuff just kind of rolls off my back. But when you start, calling me names or threatening me, I mean, you can disagree with me all day long, and I'm ready for a discussion. Well, let's talk about it. Maybe you can teach me something. I don't get paid for this. I don't want to get paid for this. I would never take a dime from anybody. I mean, unless I was absolutely destitute and people really needed me to do this, and it was the only way I could live. But at this point in life, God's provided all my needs. I'm not out here trying to make a living on YouTube or BitChute or anything else. I don't do that. I don't think you should have to pay for the truth. But if somebody's got a business, like I said, I'm not knocking people for having a business, but there's just too many grifters out here taking poor people's money for spouting lies. And then somebody here said they are Scientologists, another type of secret society. So many of these people out there to distract us. We have to stop watching them and just use our eyes and ears to know what's going on. We have to look after ourselves and avoid all these egos who want to lead us. I just found a website called Kevin Annett Must Be Stopped. Have a look and you will find he is another phony. Forget them all. We need grassroots change, not ego-filled leaders. Amen. Alexandra, I'll have to check it out. It's sad. We all have flaws, but what are Annett's crimes? Compared to Sasha, he is a saint. Kevin Annette's crimes are of exposing the British Empire, of being a huge pedo-infested swamp, and the Queen and her consort taking 10 Indian children who've never been seen again. I've heard that from several different sources, so that's a good point. I came across a few articles of talk about Sasha Stone being a bad dude. As warped as the time we're living in, I figured so could their opinions and decided to form my own. Fast forward a few months where I meet Sasha Stone, Sasha, while he and Robert David Steele were still together on a cross-country tour for patriotism in America, the Rise America tour, where I meet Sasha Stone. He is a seemingly warm and caring person, so I thought maybe the articles were there to mislead. Move past that time to tonight. A few months where I hear that Sasha Stone is trying to say we need to not appreciate the American flag as we do. Wrong. Yeah, I've heard him say stuff like that too. We don't like borders, he says. He's right in the middle of this new age, new world order, pushing it. If people could just see that. This whole Rise America tour, this whole Reawaken America tour is to deceive you. All of it. And most of these people that we're talking about here are involved as well as in the Reawakening tour on Kenneth Copeland's platform. With all of these people, all these false prophets like Kat Kerr and Amanda Grace and Robert Bullock and Kenneth Copeland, who goes back to all these other false prosperity preachers, Joyce Myers. Could just go on and on, but I won't. The American flag is America. Our fathers, grandfathers, brothers, uncles, sisters, mothers, and so on have died protecting what that flag, our American flag, represents. Freedom. The only free country of its kind, and that's under attack. When you attack the flag, you attack our country, culture, and everyone who's gone to war for America. You do not understand it unless you're an American, so next time keep your opinions to yourself when threatened or disgracing someone else's flag, country, or opinion. Like my mom always said, if you don't have anything nice to say, say nothing. As for Sasha Stone, I don't know. Wish I did, but I don't. Until I hear, with not yet 2 ears, something insulting and can have a dialogue about it with Sasha Stone, the jury will be out and I'll be on the fence, or in the fence. Well, she'll find out sooner or later. I think at the highest level, this all reinforced my concern that the whole Q movement is a massive psyop. It seemed to get global immediately. How convenient. I thought that too. I mean, we moved from Iowa to Texas in October of 2017, and that's the first time I had ever heard of this. And it was everywhere. And there was already all these anons who mostly got kicked off. And I was excited about it. It sounded great. Awesome. And, JFK Jr. was going to come back and be the vice president to Trump in 2020. Yeah, I see how that worked out. So, I think it might have started out to be real, but I can guarantee you by the time it was infiltrated and Aitken took over with Jim Watkins, who is a full-blown member of the Temple of Set. It's on one of his pages. I've done videos about it. He even combs his eyebrows like Michael Aquino, where they look like horns. And the guy is, how can anybody listen to that guy and think he has some credibility and actually listen to him? Just be careful out there. With all the talk of White House hats and draining the swamp, I wonder if there is a massive shift coming. But it will be from the frying pan to the fire, unfortunately. Finally, I believe the elites will sacrifice some of their own in order to achieve their ends. So all the sealed indictments might be just more deception. Sacrificial lambs, but for something sinister. That's sad. Yes, Tony, I would hate to think that you are right here, but I would say that each and every one of these pretenders are buying time for the big event. I've recently learned that there are a few 5G towers that are unregulated in the UK, and one of them is at Trafalgar Square. I am sure that it will be operational at the next gathering, 9/26. I don't know what that's about. 60 gigahertz will stop the uptake of O2. And no doubt when this happens, we are going to see a lot of people suddenly getting the C19 symptoms. That's a possibility. Kevin Annett is another Jesuit pimp, just for the record. The ITNJ replaced ITTC that he was head of. It's at times like these when we need to be relying on something that we are told we should never use in our decision-making process. That thing is our personal intuition. And the reason we are told not to use it, but simply follow the money, follow the logic, is because everyone wants us to believe what they believe, which may not coincide with how we actually feel. Wherever you look these days, there are groups and individuals professing to hold the truth and offering you that truth, provided you're willing to give your energy and money to them. I inserted money there. Some use emotion for their main lever. Some use logic. Neither, though, do more than offer you their version of the truth, their perception of reality. And that's true. We are seeing our heroes exposed. We are seeing our heroes exposed as pedophiles, psychopaths, and Satanists. We are seeing the lies and distortion spread by our political class, our entertainers, our news organizations, those who we have been encouraged to look up to all our lives, all in pursuit of protecting those who are now being exposed as pedophiles and Satanists. We're beginning to see the seedy underside of the control mechanisms that have been used to control and steer us into directions where we know we will not prosper. This, having been well hidden for centuries, have gone from being covert to openly overt. That's so true. The gloves are off, the war is raging, and one of the main weapons always used in any war is the elimination of the truth. Truth becomes subjective depending which camp you have chosen to join, because one camp is always 100% right and the other is 100% wrong. That's the myth we are sold. The world is never black or white, it's always gray. Bear that in mind and engage your intuition to decide where you will choose to stand, and inevitably choose to stand in your own space. Thank you for your comment. I've never been so confused in all my 68 years. Most excellent. It becomes more and more clear to me every day that my most precious gift is my own inner knowing. The deception is so thoroughly implanted in every aspect of our lives that the only one to trust is myself for my inner director. Well, we can trust God. We can trust Jesus. You know, I don't claim to know everything about the Bible, or even though I've been a Bible student since I was 12, which is 63 years ago. I'll be 75 in July. And I don't want to be one that's ever learning and never coming to a knowledge of the truth. Because Jesus is the truth, the way, and the life. And He is real. He's real. And He is our Savior, if you choose Him. I'm not trying to preach at anybody. I promised Him when He filled me with His Holy Spirit that I would never be ashamed to testify of Him. And I never have been. There was a short period of time I tried to be an atheist. It was kind of comical, actually. But I just kept remembering all the things that God had done for me. I remembered meeting Jesus Christ at the altar. In the Spirit, of course. You know, I'm not one of those prosperity preachers that's always being taken to heaven and showing, rooms full of body parts and stuff. I don't know if you guys have heard that, but wow, it's something else. The great battle is for the control of the narrative. There you go. Who is right and who is wrong? What are the ultimate goals in this ridiculous, farcical show? On a more serious note, what are our true origins? Is it possible to transcend this ugly part and make it true and pure again? Good to meet you. Also subscribe to your YouTube channel. Keep up truth, clarification work. Don't get caught up in politics and emotion. That's true. Since Kevin Annett is published here in the video in regards to Sasha Stone, I thought this site might show some interesting information regarding Kevin Annett. Yes, the rabbit hole goes deep, and people such as these do often even fight against each other, not knowing and realizing they are being controlled by the same puppet masters. And that is really true. I've seen this. I've made some videos from different parties talking, insiders, about how control the narrative is. And he used the example of Antifa and the Proud Boys, and that they're basically controlled by the same people, just depending what they want or how much money they want to get or whatever. It's all controlled. The only thing they can't control is our Father, the God of the universe, and our Savior and Lord Jesus Christ of Nazareth, not Yeshua. I'm going to specify that. Sasha was on Project Camelot yesterday being interviewed by Carrie Cassidy, so beautifully deceitful and eloquent as ever. He lies so completely, it's actually quite insightful to watch an intelligent person whose entire persona is based on lies and a fabricated history just spin and talk, misdirect and manipulate. He is a true master. It's his true talent. He references your good work here. I think I clicked on that, but the video wasn't there. It'd been taken down. An unprompted defense of his heritage and lineage. It bothers him clearly. This pandemic has him seizing the opportunity with both hands, and the eloquence just bamboozles the people who can't believe that a person could articulate in such a manner. And to think prior to COVID-19, he was on a world tour promoting his 5G USB Shield scam. That was the Rise America tour, I'm sure. I never heard of that scam, but he's quite honestly the most entertaining charlatan of them all. Simon Adams reinvented. Carrie Cassidy is a disinfo agent too, as is Simon Parks, and so many more. Anyone talking about black ops, space missions, and galactic federations is deceiving you. Peace. I don't doubt it. I just avoid most channels, people like that. I know there are things I don't know and that I can't explain, but I like discussing things that we have some evidence on. Any kind of evidence. Testimony from insiders, not my thing. Not for the so-called aliens. There's a reason why Project Bluebeam is a thing. Haha, thank you, Simon. He can pretend he doesn't care. I know he doesn't live in peace as much as a narcissist that he is. He knows he is doomed. Be good if Alessandro answered your question related to Dolores Cahill. This article has got me reflecting, not coming to any conclusions. I've watched a lot of Sasha Stone over the last year. I'm open to all possibilities in our strange human world. Hello, Philip. I have not looked into this woman you mentioned, talking about Dolores Cahill, but I'll tell you this. Any truther who works with Sasha is either incredibly sloppy or controlled opposition as well. So I have to agree with him there. I know that a lot of people are just obviously deceived. Good people, you know, that really think they're telling the truth, and then they get mixed up with all these yahoos. So I would say that you have to judge each person, and when I say judge, I mean you have to discern between good and evil. What is their motives? You have to go to the source, look up their biography, see where they come from, see what they talk about. Are they always talking about being light workers or tarot cards or ascension or the Christed mind? Then run the opposite direction from that person. Because there's a lot of New Agers that are sincerely deceived. And we should pray for them, that God will bring them out of that hellhole that they're in. Okay, Sasha Stone is working with Scott McKay now. Yep. Filming on the Patriot Street Fighter tour after switching over from Robert David Steele tour. And I just want to make a comment here. I've got some videos that it was probably a year or so ago before Robert David Steele allegedly died from COVID. I still don't believe that's true, but I could be wrong. I spent hours and hours and hours researching that Rise America tour, and you talk about a bunch of frauds. There was 107 and Robert David Steele and Sasha Stone. Well, Robert David Steele was talking about all the money that he had brought in by his name, millions of dollars. I can't remember the exact amount. And he said somebody had taken off with $500,000 of it. They had, and I really believe that was Sasha that snuck in there and got that big chunk of money, and that's why they fell out, if they really did. You can't really tell. And see, that's what they're saying about Kevin Annett, is that he was really in cahoots with Stone and RDS, but they were just two different sides of controlled opposition. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's what people are saying. On January 24, Scott McKay made a comment on this thread. Sasha Stone and the awesomeness seems a disconnect. What do you think is happening here? Claire Dodd. Check out Annie Logical on YouTube. She does a video exposing Cahill and other so-called truthers. Kate Shambles Shamarini being one of them, the so-called nurse. She also exposes Mark Steele as controlled opposition. He is prominent in the 5G movement. So, I know this was a while back, but I don't feel bad at all. There's such a mind-boggling amount of deceit right now. I don't think any human can keep up. That's truth. Everyone speaks truth sometimes, even especially when trying to deceive. That is true. That's what they draw people in with, is the truth that they speak. But truth wrapped in lies becomes a lie because it becomes contaminated. But if people can, take that one truth and research it, go to the source and find for themselves, then just wipe all the lies away. But that's how they get you. Some of what he says is nuggets of truth. Those nuggets of truth is what caught your attention, and it made you a better person. The messenger doesn't matter. Well, I disagree with that. The messenger does matter. We're not to align ourselves with darkness, with lies. But you can take that truth and run with it, The cult that I was in, I received many truths there. And I learned a lot. But it was still a very destructive religious cult and hurt a lot of people. The branching are interesting, to say the least. All sorts of military and deep state intel folks pops up, all connected. Sasha Stone, Robert Steele, Steve, whatever that is, George Webb, Roger Stone, Paul Manafort, General Flynn, hugging and lifting up Kenneth Copeland at the Reawaken America tour, saying a prayer to a theosophist prayer to Michael and his legions. Yeah. I don't know who Alfred Mason Gray Jr. is. I haven't heard of that name. And on it goes. When George Floyd died, or did he? Well, just throw this in there real quick. George Floyd's lawyer came out during that time and very plainly said that wasn't George Floyd. He said George Floyd died 2 years before. And there was a big factory right around the corner from that little store where they made medical dummies. And I've got pictures of one that looks just like George Floyd. That's all I'm going to say about that right now. Stone said, "Blessed, blessed man gave up his life." I knew something was off. Nancy Pelosi was praising George Floyd for sacrificing his life for us. Like he was Jesus or something. He was a drug dealer, held a knife to a pregnant woman's stomach while his other friends were robbing her. He was a porn star. Andrew, thanks. It's always good to hear these things. I don't trust anybody. However, at the time, 2019, I had no clue about Annett and his gatekeeping. But I had figured, as Sasha figured out from the get-go. Good point. Mel K, LOL, just another scammer. They all are, any and every one of them that hang around Charlie Ward. I agree with that. Horrible people. Fraud. Yes. I have reason to believe that Sasha Stone is a sex magic occultist. I did a video on BitChute. Excuse me, it is almost 2 o'clock in the morning and I've just about had it, but I took one of his music videos from years ago, and I would just about have to agree that he is some kind of a sex magic occultist. Maybe into bondage or S&M or something. I don't know. You can just go down in this list and find that. You can see him singing on the cover. I sat down with him on a couple of occasions, and not me, but I was just reading this recently and picked up a few interesting comments and behaviors. It's tricky because I do think there is some truth in what he's saying, but I do think he has specific fetishes. Yeah, like ripping a bride's dress off and putting a ball gag in her mouth and then possibly tossing her over the edge of a building. It's crazy. I've met Kevin and chatted at length with him. I believe he's a good man doing God's work. I've always had doubts about Robert David Steele, once CIA, always a spy, and I was a bit surprised when Sasha linked up with him to do the tour. None of this did I know about Sasha at the time, and it was not really surprising that they had a falling out mid-tour. I think that's when he took off with $500,000 of the money that came in, but I can't prove that. But seeing this info makes me wonder about Scott McKay for having stepped in to continue the tour with Sasha. Scott McKay's just a grifter too. Any thoughts on Scott? He seems sincere, and Scott's father was killed by a bioweapon attack that occurred at the Pennsylvania tour stop. He, Sasha, and many other people on the stage or in the first 2 rows fell ill. I know people who were there. I'm a member of Connecting Consciousness, but I've also had some doubts about Simon, mostly from who he's aligned himself with, like Charlie Ward, and much of the mixed info I hear about these healing centers. Yeah, healing centers and med beds and, all that stuff. Ways to make money. He claims to be planning to set up in the U.S. My CC state leader has told me they were not going to be what they were cracked up to be, which stunned me. Interestingly, she's a friend of Sasha also, and she was just removed from the CC leadership role with no explanation to the group shortly after this event. I guess that Connecting Consciousness is about this, one mind, one hive mind, and all that stuff. I'm reserving judgments on everybody because I see more disinfo and deception than I have in the past 20 years of diving down rabbit holes, but trying to seek truth is just getting exhausting these days. That is true. Well done. Parks, Ward, Stone, Adams, MI6, Steele, CIA, both these are. Do you know what links all these characters? When you find out what's your back, they won't take you to court. They'll probably want to take you out to lunch. Take you out, but not to lunch. Currently looking for links between these characters and Mike, FATW, as I know they are all connected back to the 70s and early 80s. I don't know much about Sasha Stone, but I certainly think you're correct about Robert Steele. He emerged around the time of the WikiLeaks. Yeah, it seemed like everybody just came out of the woodwork all of a sudden. But he became sure he was a fraud when he started pushing the International Tribunal of Justice. This is something the communists in the United Nations do. Problem, reaction, solution. International law that comes from unelected bodies and is imposed upon nations through treaties should be of great
the Republic
concern.
of Kanata.
Took a look down a westbound road, right away I made my choice. Headed out to my big two-wheeler, I was tired of my own voice. Took a beat on the northern plains and just rolled that power on. "12 hours out of Mackinac City, stopped in a bar to have a brew. Met a girl and we had a few drinks, and I told her what I decided to do. She looked out the window a long, long moment, then she looked into my eyes. She didn't have to say a thing. I knew what she was thinking. Roll me away, won't you roll me away tonight? I too am lost, I feel double-crossed. Now I'm sick of what's wrong and what's right. We never even said a word, we just walked out and got on that bank. And we rolled. Roll clean out of sight. Rolled across the high plains, deep into the mountains. Felt so good to me. Finally feeling free. She said she missed her home. I had it all along. Alone on a mountaintop, staring out at the Great Divide. I could go east, I could go west, it was all up to me to decide. Just then I saw a young hawk flying and my soul began to rise. And pretty soon, my heart was singing. Took a look down a westbound road, right away I made my choice. Headed out to my big two-wheeler, I was tired of my own voice. Took a beat on the northern plains and just rolled that power on. $12 out of Mackinac City, stopped in a bar to have a brew. Met a girl and we had a few drinks, and I told her what I decided to do. She looked out the window a long, long moment, then she looked into my eyes. She didn't have to say a thing. I knew what she was thinking. Roll me away, won't you roll me away tonight? just walked out and got on that bank. And we rolled. And we rolled clean out of sight. She missed her home. I had it all along. Still on a mountaintop, staring out at the Great Divide. I could go east, I could go west, it was all up to me to decide. Just then I saw a young hawk flying and my soul began to rise. And pretty soon